Okay, hello everybody, it's me Tasha C, and in this particular video I'll be reviewing Real World Explosion Season 29 episode, what is this, 8 or something now? Sorry y'all, DVD messed up. I thought it was recording, so I just finally got finished again seeing the first, finally the first 10 minutes, and I had to wait almost an hour, 3 minutes to seem like to see that. So, we pick up where we left off. It's not too much in this episode. I'm just going to highlight some of the points that stood out to me. Of course, the main issues about the whole thing with Lori's pregnancy. I also found it's my first time seeing the aftermath special, and it's just I'm going to take maybe a couple sentences from what was said from that. So we end up where Lauren is trying to tell the other side, we basically see Cory's reaction, and it turns out that there was no way that she is pregnant exactly by Cory, because it turns out they just had sex 2 nights prior to her finding out that she's pregnant. And then first, of course, she's trying to say like Cory put it together, and then she's kind of trying to say like as if still is his to a certain point. I'm trying to be biased. I'm not trying to take anybody. I'm not trying to be biased or anything. I'm just trying to point out as possibly can. Seeing both sides really. So her angle is, they finally getting along. There might be chance of them finally possibly getting at better good for the future. Even though in a previous episode, Cory was thinking like she had only came back because it was, it's the real world, because he asked her to actually move with him when he moved to California, and she stayed, so it's some problems with that. So he ended up basically once he put fast forward now, when he's saying this, he already put two together, realized, okay, basically in other words, this can't be mine. So of course I think by that time he kind of walks away. She's laying down in the bed around this time and crying, and she's expecting him to support her, but he's looking from the angle, because we find out later on that, Cory has been through this before. Now Lauren has said a little bit later on, I think, and also in the aftermath, that previously, Cory was, when he was in the situation, he was in college, but I think she was saying he said that they were still together, but she stood by his side with the fake scared thing, because this girl said, claimed she was pregnant. He said, because his father wasn't around, he made a promise to whoever the lady, if he got a girl pregnant, that he was going to be there for the child. So he sacrificed turned in his football scholarship, came home, and it turned out it was one of those situations which, first, this is not my first time hearing something like this. A couple times, you got fake sonograms, fake, doctor notes or whatever the case is, just full blown, Xerox copying or whatever, and free Photoshops or whatever this heifer was doing, whatever, and put Cory in that situation. But Lauren was there. And so Lauren, in a way, she expected Cory to support her and stuff like that. Of course, Cory's upset because he's kind of like, here you're trying to say like it's mine and it's somebody else's, and he felt kind of hurt about that situation. And fast forward, first, Cory calls, I think, a mutual friend, and then Liz on the phone that she's pregnant. She's like, oh no. And then later on, Lauren calls Liz, and Liz just like, you probably should come home. That's what Lauren wanted to do in the first place. Since this is on screen, she didn't expect, of course, not only this to happen, but she damn sure didn't want to be, I guess, ridiculed or, stamped with, horror, whatever else that she thought, the negative, feedback, or comment, or whatever, that comes along with being with a certain situation. Even though a little part of her had thought about, staying on here and stuff like that, for people, because this is the real world. She talked to the producer called her, she called, or the other vice versa, and Cory, and then we're on the steps, and, they were like, what they're going through, but the producer was trying to kind of have her state, what you're going to do, and Lauren, of course, decided she's going to leave, in a couple days or so to figure this out. And in the aftermath, we still don't know. She doesn't want to talk about it, what she decided to do, but that's her business and that's her choice. So whatever was the best decision for her. And so, but in the meantime, when she's crying and everything else, and of course, like, I can't support you right now. He's hurt because, like he said, he's like, he already been through this before, so, and it's all people, and now you're trying to say here. Now, first, like she kept saying, is if, like I said, Cory and her were the ones that didn't have condoms in, but she was the last dude she was with wherever she was at whatever prior to, they were protected. But it turns out she finally is telling Cory, and I can see why from a certain angle he, of course, was frustrated because she's sitting here not only telling this all of a sudden, you kind of planning something and already kind of been this, and you had to give him a scholarship, and basically, I don't know if he finished college or anything, but kind of like he stopped everything on account of somebody pulling some broad pulling off that beforehand, and him out of all people and her, and they're both first loves, and they still on and off or friends, but whatever the case was, they had a bond. So he probably feels more hurt than ever out of all people to do something like that to him. Despite also with the past, but even though that is somewhat still the past other situation, but it's just not even including the past, the fact that she's trying to say that's his. She got pregnant by him just to make it more. She wished that it was his, so the situation would be as bad, But at the same time, you're trying to say, you're trying to put somebody, put that on him, and that is him being, possible father, or whatever. The male got her pregnant, basically. Because we don't know whether she terminated pregnancy or not. Like I said, that's her business. But what I'm saying is that, she expects him to be here for her, and like I said, she keeps bringing the account because I was there for you when this broad put you in this situation. And so, like I said, he's ended up telling, I think, Thomas, somebody told Thomas. Eventually, of course, went over the house, over time about, that Lauren was pregnant. And of course, Cory's talking to the dudes, whatever, I guess, like to Thomas, like, there's no way that I had gotten her pregnant and only been 2 days ago. And then Lauren ends up dropping the bombshell and finally telling the truth that the dude and her did not use a condom, but she used the plan B the day afterwards. Even though she said she took full precaution, whatever, like I said, we don't even know now, and I'm not trying to sit here and talk bad about Lauren, disrespect, but, okay, you first try to say this and that. Are you just trying to sit here and say you took precautions? First you said you had a condom, there was no condom involved. And now you're saying plan B, and some people say, like, you're just saying that just to say that you did, who's to say you didn't use anything with Cory, obviously, so what difference would it make with the other guy? So I'm just saying, I don't know if she was trying to say this to save face. It's not trying to sit here and talk bad about him, just saying that you kind of, making your statements are kind of a little shaky now. So, of course, he's hurt, whatever the case is, and he feels kind of backstabbed, betrayed. They decide to go to the night out or whatever, and Lauren feels like, I think it's next night, whatever, to go out. But around this time, in between, we have this miscellaneous stuff. Brian and Jenny are still on, trying to work this thing out. Brian is, quote, quote, still keeping his penis in his pants and making Jenny wait. And, Jenny is still trying to work. Jenny, even when they decide to go shower together, instead of going to shower together, he's in a separate stall over there, and she's in a separate one. So Jenny's respecting the decision, but she, on the other hand, is only way slow. The guy, Doug, who appeared in, the first or second episode, has made a turn and brought her flowers. She's obviously has not flat out told him in a nice way just to be friends. I think it wasn't kind of like until Nessa, the aftermath, kind of like helped her. And he was just, because he came, of course, as a special guest, and he was on there. So he ends up bringing flowers again, but he was just like, oh, you have to tell me, was we just be friends? Okay, whatever. And all the guys just, I swear, was laughing on the couch. Right. At least in Cory Johnson was laughing, right? So, to make a long story short, she ends up just giving hint to all the exes back and trying to, like, give hints, but not just want me to tell him, like, sorry, I don't want to, because he was offering to take her, I guess, lunch and stuff, and she told him, he's her ex is somewhere around here, and she basically told him, basically, a nice way, scatter, okay, scatter off and go, okay, so, but he, Brian's up there like, make sure you get touch up right here, because like I said, Brian is like, if they have 300 part 2, they ever come out with that movie, I swear, I don't know, I'm just wouldn't be surprised, because he showed just be, later on we seen the beach, and he just all like this, and you got Jenny making sandcastles and shit, and he just all like this, just all flexing and stuff like that, like he trying to pose for he in the fitness competition, okay, that's all we just seen. So, anyway, y'all, after, like I said, they end up going out and fast forward, that time. So Cory, who's still frustrated, Lauren feels like F this, whatever, even though, like I said, Lauren to some point is trying to justify is he should be there for, because now he should feel how I felt. Okay. But so, they end up going out, and Lauren feels frustrated because she feels like to get back at her because of the betrayal. He's flirting with other girls. She's all, I think, pushing, basically checked him like, what the heck are you doing this for? And, basically she felt like the time of need that you should be there for me at all times. You're, basically, basically, being disrespectful in my face. And he's just like, what are you talking about? And the girl was just like, okay, is there a problem with somebody? He was just like, no, I don't even end up getting the number, stuff like that. I don't remember. But then they end up back at the house, and Lauren's crying again in the bed, and Jenny ends up comforting her and stuff like that. She just feels like I said, Cory's disrespectful. Cory came in there, and I think somebody had called up, Jay or one of them was like, make sure, because we already know Cory may be visual distraction, but another distraction unfortunately happens to be that he has anger and possibly some control issues. Is one of the two of his major flaws, so he has to work on. And so he's letting her know, like, what, I wasn't expecting, whatever case in the Bible. Because Lauren's like, you at least could have did that. I'm about to leave. You could have did that when, basically, like, when I left here, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'll do your face. He basically like, I don't care. So he ends up sleeping on the couch or somewhere else in the house. And the next morning, I guess, because with all the hurt and buildup, like I said, Cory, like, just like God rest her soul, Jay's mom, when she passed, he knocks the table up. It's almost like he didn't want nobody to see that he was crying. And it was like something he was really trying to avoid, I think, in the hospital care. He's in a call on his grandma, and his grandma was basically like, sorry, y'all. Just, it's still the cold, so sorry I'm doing this. He ends up basically, talking to his grandma. Maybe she could sense something was wrong. And he was, basically, talking all of a sudden to her, and she was just like, how you doing? He was just like going on and something like that. I don't think he went into details about what happened with Lauren, nothing like that. And he was like, I'll talk to you later. You start seeing all these tears rolling down his eyes. And before, it seemed like before the grandma was able to say the last goodbye, oh, okay, brother, he hung up the phone and he just had walked away. And I think he was really trying to avoid, showing his emotions like that, especially like crying. There's some people, especially some men, I'm not generalizing everybody, but it's like, he didn't want to see anybody to see him cry. I mean, that's just personally to me. Because he's really just set with everything that's going on now. Especially, like, in a way, I think he was starting to think there was a chance for him and Lauren, and that kind of somewhat ruined it. So, the next day, between him and Lauren, they decide to go to lunch. She was trying to make her feel better, I guess, and take her out. And as they decided is, like, even though she's going back home, he feels a little better to a point. But he was like this, the thing was reported, like, you got to work on certain stuff in the past. You leave the stuff along the past. If you're going to be with somebody, but you keep bringing the past, then that's, basically like hindrance, which it is. So she basically saying he's always there, always going to be fuss over the children. And they agreed, like, he's still going to be a friend for her and still have some love for her. So it's still pending on, I guess, I don't know if they're going to get back together in the future or not. I don't know if we'll ever know or not. Or if they're talking right now. So, anyways, Lauren ends up leaving, and everybody was actually supported for her when she left. And even she said, of course, in the aftermath, that everyone supported her, because Nessie never asked anyone to support. She was like, everybody was supportive for her. Everybody was supporting. She felt so glad that she was around these group of people, short amount of time, and everyone was supportive. So she ends up leaving. Of course, Cory hugs her, says his goodbyes to her before Lauren leaves. And so let's fast forward. Wasn't too much with Jamie and Thomas, but I do think it was a hilarious little scene in the middle. I don't know if they're like they were doing a webcam or doing a video cam. I don't know what they were doing, but here you got Haley and Thomas doing something. And then it just seemed like it was good to at least see. It wasn't no drama at the moment being, because Haley, I don't know what episode she's gonna be in there trying to strangle Thomas, I think, later on. But we just see Jamie up here do the robot or whatever she is walking past behind them, or video bomb instead of photo bomb. And then here we got Haley just following, they doing the same thing, they just laugh and giggles. I guess, but like I said, I just thought that was a good scene. It wasn't any drama at the moment, you know what I mean? So, and I just thought it was funny, but it was too. But here's the other thing to go to play. Like I said, Brian, by this time, and Jenna, they go out on their 4th or 5th anniversary, and they've kind of been on and off anyway, but they still go out the time, the date officially it would have been their 5th or 4th anniversary, according to Brian. So finally, I guess it's like an aphrodisiac or something that brings them together. is when they make stuff like brownies and desserts and all this other stuff. So they're up there making desserts and everything else. And then finally Brian realized he wants to release the sausage, I guess. And he finally decides to give Jenny, too many J's in that damn house, god damn it, Jenny the D. For now, because it looks, until really all about the latest episode and what's going on now. Because you know how Brian likes to bring up once in a while about how he feels hurt. Like I said, also with dinner, they can see themselves growing on, stuff like that, not, and prepare or later on in life. And he's planning, I guess, about going to college or getting another degree or something like that again, because he's a deep thinker, stuff like that. I'm just going by what they say. So, the last but not least, last two things, Arlene is having an issue. Now, they have this fan site already while the show's occurring, and it was saying so before, I guess, the show was in the process of coming, this particular season, that there might have been a trans person on there, a transgender person on the show. And it turns out they thought Arlene was transgender, female to male, and because she had the beanie on, and because Arlene is slim, she's toned from slender to medium. Well, she's kind of like more slender, medium built, but she has toned arms and stuff like that. And people were trying to say that basically that about her. And Arlene already had some things where she was kind of more of the tomboyish stuff like that, or she just has a unique style. But she said she used to dress more boyish until she got with Ashley, and Ashley kind of had her more like she dresses more kind of feminine or whatever more since she's been around Ashley, where I guess she's trying to please Ashley, whatever. But like I said, she's kind of felt once you've seen the website, Arlene, it kind of bothered her. And one night when we were going out, I think it happened to be I don't know if it was the same night that the ladies' night, or it was right before, or something like that. And no, it was before they went to the ladies' night. And she happened to have, of course, a beanie on, and she had a shirt, but it had like a tank top or whatever, a tank top or something like that under, stuff like that. And she was getting hot or something like that. But she tried to accuse Ashley of trying to say no, I guess Ashley knows that she was hot and was trying to tell her to take the t-shirt off. And I guess Arlene took it as if in a way like, okay, you just want me to be like that anyway, because Arlene feels like she's kind of like felt kind of hurt about that statement, because she's like, she's kind of just feels like she just wants to be a certain way and, express herself in certain clothes. And it's kind of, she has ambiguous face or whatever features. And she just kind of just felt that way. That's not who she is. So she just like, why are people just putting me in a certain box, kind of thing. But, she actually just felt like, I should know you by now. That's when they had a little somewhat of an argument when they got back home about it, because she just felt like Ashley was trying to come at her, tell her to dress a certain way again. And Ashley's just like, I've been with you for 2-something half years. Hey, if I don't know, I should know you by now. If I don't know you, whatever type, one of those type of things, right? But they were able to make up the next morning, and later on it was kind of like everyone, I think in the group whatever, she had gays, and she had some of her gays friends, of Arlene did, and some of her transgender friends, and one guy, Kingston, you would never know he was female to male, did I'm not trying to, and so I'm not trying to say the wrong word, just saying, but you never know that originally Kingston was nowhere. He looked at you, I'm just saying, Kingston said this used to be, I was born a female originally, this is blah blah blah. I showed him because I saw Kingston, he Kingston looks like he was born to do whatever. But Brian said the smartest account statements, like, he feels like the people are transgender. The state of mind is up to time for them, to build. I'm trying to paraphrase, but to build on that when they get further on their lives and stuff like that. But everybody was just kind of like, oh, that's a great statement. But there was also some other people she said Arlene said was transgender, but they prefer not to say. But Arlene was admitting in her feelings about how she felt, as far as like who she was, and as far as terms of, she just really was really upset about, like I said, all she felt like, maybe how she felt Ashley at times was trying to put her and to dress a certain way, even though Ashley admitted, like, she goes with a girl. I mean, she goes with girls. She just wants a girl to be more feminine. But it's just, just, that's pretty much another issue. But everyone was just supportive of Arlene just being the way she is. And they're just like, rock your beanie. Like Jamie said, rock your beanie. Be yourself. There's nothing wrong with being you. And Ashley was like, I'm okay with being you. I love you for you type of thing. So they're on good terms back again and everything else. And the last little thing is the night out. Boys night out and the ladies night out. Now Brian and Jenny already said before she went out, they made these things about, he was like, are you going to be dancing on the girl? I'm not going to be dancing if you don't ask me to. And she just letting she know she does not want him to, slinging his neck on the back girl's ass. But I mean, this is just kind of his back. It's still in the same territory. I guess he's like, well, yeah, maybe he thought it was following rules and stuff, because he didn't. Well, we didn't see him grinding back in a bra, but he sure was kissing one, because when he went out, he ended up talking to this girl, and everybody's like, even though the guys is like, if you got Jay, always get yourself in trouble, even though he said don't show me, and you got some girl up there twerking on him and him having numbers, and then here the behind the scenes with the aftermath, when they show the aftermath, how he's looking at two Brazilian bras and saying, "Ooh, I like it with fat ass and all this other stuff. Let me see from behind you." And then we got, oh my gosh, then we got also Thomas sitting up here talking about, I think the same females are, y'all fucking hot or whatever the case is, and fucking sexy and stuff. Like, here, Jamie, I don't know if they still get her or not, but she was saying the time being, they still can't say anything. I haven't seen Real World in a couple years, y'all. Do they still have reunions anymore? I'm sorry. I'm so used to, like, we used to be every single, like, every 4 seasons they will always have reunions. Sorry, y'all. I told you, if y'all see me from the beginning, it's been a long time since I've been consistently watching Real World. It's been a long time. Thanks to Wesley from Next TV and Ashley Miller. That's the reason why I got on there. I'm back on here. So, what I'm saying, y'all, you got him, Jay, and then Brian is he was just like, man, this one lady I was talking to, and she was doing chemical engineering. And next minute, he's all talking, he said, I didn't need to carry the conversation further. I didn't know, basically, by giving the tongues, sword fighting stuff like that in each other's mouths. I mean, I don't know what's doing all that, but the angle was he was kissing the broad. You seen back this head, and you see this here, and that's kind of how the episode ended. We already know that Jenny's not going to take it to. I don't know if she finds out. I know she knows now from looking at this episode, because they had to bring it up in the aftermath thing. But, of course, especially since they supposedly have boundaries, and he, again, with his same excuse, Brian was keep bringing about the whole thing about, her hooking up, and he wanted to make an excuse like, well, she hooked up with somebody else and blah, blah, blah. But, I think even Jenny was saying, like, she sat there and was always loyal to him and honest with him and stuff like that. But like I said, could be continuing back and forth again with Jenny and Brian's drama. And of course, we all know Cory was back to his party stuff again, whatever the case is. So, yeah, so his ex is gone for now, so we'll see there. But don't Brian and Cory end up finding later on. I don't know. But that's it, y'all, for this particular episode. And have a pleasant week, pleasant night, pleasant week, and I'll definitely see you on the next video. And thank you for all the love, all supporters. And subscribe, rate, and comment, whatever. I'll try to reply to as much comments as I can. And rate, share if you can, and I thank you all for the love, support, my YouTube fam, all my subbies, and everyone. Thank you for all the love, and take care, y'all.